Hello, my dear listeners. My name is Kishore Ganesh, and in this episode of the Vocal About Visuals podcast, I'll be reviewing Makato Shinkai's 5 centimeters per second, a series of shots that string together to form a kind of a foolish story. Now, the reason for my intro for this film is because, firstly, the runtime of the three shots that make up this film is 1 hour and 3 minutes. Mighty short if you ask me. And secondly, this film doesn't have a conventional story structure, and by that I mean this is a film that is something along the lines of a vignette of the lives of three people. A period of about 20 years is showcased in the film, starting from when the protagonist, Takaki Tono, is in elementary school to his current adult life. There are two other characters, two romantic interests of Takaki, Akari Shinohara and Kane Sumida, that make up the major characters of the shots and thereby the film. There are a few further peripheral characters in the film who add just the right dose of zing to the proceedings, but their screen time is extremely short. Makato here intended to make a film that is, in a way, very anti Makato when compared to his later films like Your Name or Weathering with You or even Suzume, where the protagonists move time, space, earth, magic, and anything and everything else to ensure that they end up with their true love. And considering that this film came out way back in 2007 and his later films that I just mentioned came during the late 2010s, maybe Makato became less cynical about love as time progressed and is now actively rooting for the love conquers all ideology. And I, for one, am all for it. Of course, we all know about love affairs that don't end happily. But then again, what's 1,000 love failures in front of one remarkable success? I want to hear about that one success and what's more, want to fanboy over it and shout about that love from my rooftop or rather through my mic on my podcast. But then again, that's just me. Having said all this, does this mean I didn't enjoy 5 centimeters per second, which is at the most bittersweet? No, absolutely not. This is the kind of film that makes you reminisce about your own past and your own life choices. It is the kind of film that makes you seek out people who have also watched the film to discuss their interpretation of it. What was their take on the symbolism in the film? What was their take on the choice of the characters? What was their take on the ending? And then you debate over your respective inferences. This is the kind of film that feeds your mind and spirit. It gives you homework that you take on willingly. And surprise, surprise, all this happened to me as well. In fact, I'll be linking 2 to 3 internet posts about this film in the description notes of this podcast episode that should help your interpretations in case you, like moi, wanted help to articulate what you felt and what your brain somehow already knew but your words couldn't express. Makato is in fine form here, even with the shots that serve as chapters for a very short feature film. The characters and their emotions are delicate and infinitely relatable. I don't know if I can say that the relatability is universal, but for those for whom this film works, it should work big time. The artwork is, as usual, top notch and it is delicate. In addition to these two adjectives, how can I miss out on saying that it is indeed also beautiful and it transports you to Makato's ethereal universe that is simultaneously also real and piercing. This film almost mandates a second viewing, with it being so vignette, filled with symbolism and open to interpretation. And this quote unquote homework will surely be taken up with glee by the fans of Makato Shinkai, Romances, and anime. Watch this film wherever and whenever you get a chance and experience it for yourselves. Once again, my name is Kishore Ganesh. This is the Vocal About Visuals podcast, and thank you, my dear listeners, for your time and for listening. Please do give this podcast a follow on your preferred podcast platforms and on YouTube. If you're listening to this podcast on audio platforms, please do review the podcast. And if you're listening it on YouTube, consider subscribing and also commenting. And finally, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Podcast Plural for more TV, anime, and movie related content. Also on Instagram, I've started making my quote unquote one shot reviews of movies that I don't end up doing a podcast review for. Thank you.